What are you doing with your time? Think about it. What are you doing with your time? Now, listen, no, this is not a guilt program. Okay. This is a program that is dedicated to your success, to your thriving, to your fruitfulness. So when I'm going to talk about what I'm talking about and give some examples, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I do want to make you feel a little bit of a wake up call. So for one thing, so you can know, and here's my goal today. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your time. That's your own values and what you want out of life. But here's what I want you to know. I want you to spend your time on purpose. I want you to spend your time on purpose. I don't care what you do with it. I mean, I care. I want good things for you, but I'm not going to push you into spending it in any certain way. There are people that will do that, but tell you how to run your life. They're easy to come across. They'll tell you. Some you just need to, I don't know, call your mom or your dad. They'll tell you. Even if you're 40 years old, they will tell you. My wife just walked by and kind of looked at me weird. Maybe I was saying something weird. People give you advice. The advice I'm going to give you is agnostic because it's more like the laws of physics. What you do with the laws of physics is up to you. Now, here's what I mean by this. Whatever you are going to get out of life is going to require an investment of time and energy, as you've heard me talk about before. In fact, I think I talked about this topic many months ago, actually. But as I was considering, it's something we need to be reminded of. So I want to say it again. Whatever you're going to have in life is going to require an investment of time. It doesn't come without, I mean, literally, nothing of value of thriving doesn't have time in the equation. Everything has time in the equation, and time is your best friend because it is the most powerful multiplier. You want to blow your mind? You put time on your side with any kind of an investment at any kind of a reasonable return. I don't exactly know the numbers are, but to illustrate the point, I want just something like this. I attended a financial management course one time years ago, and the teacher showed what happens if some people think, well, I don't have enough money to invest. Well, they showed if you took the $4 or $5 that you spend every day, some people, when they go to, the coffee shop, I make mine at home. It's cheaper. Take that $4 or $5. I'm not against going to coffee shops. I love to go too. But some people, this is a habit or a practice every day. I'm not saying it's bad. It's up to you. Every day. But if you took that $5 and put it into an investment account that gave a return at, I don't know, 6 or 7% or something, whatever it is. And you started when you were, 25 years old. I don't know exactly the numbers, but I'm pretty sure it turns into around a couple of $1 million by the time you retire. Because it's not adding up. It's the multiplication of compounded interest, which at what's the rule of 7 or 8%, you get to a double every 7 years. You start doubling things, it gets crazy when you have time in the equation. Crazy. Okay, now what am I talking about? Well, look at somebody that's got muscles. Where'd those come from? Time. Time. That's where that came from. They just spend a little time every day or every third day, second day, whenever it is. Where do people get good relationships? Get their good relationships? Time. They invest time in doing certain activities. Where do the people that build a business get that business? Time. Doing prioritized activities over time. Now, that's the principle behind this. Here's my word for you today. When I said I want you doing this intentionally, this is something that I learned years ago, and everybody uses the phrase, it changed my life. I will say this coupled with understanding that not all activities move the needle, that did change my life. And here's the word for the day. I wrote about this in my book, One Life Solution. It's called a time audit. A time audit. Now, what's an audit? Well, we come think of an audit as something bad. No, an audit is something your speedometer on your dashboard's doing to you every day when you drive. It's auditing, it's looking at, it's inspecting. This is something that changed my life. Here's what you do with a time audit. Just look at your calendar and go back a month. If you want a real good picture, go back 6 months or a year with a very simple question. How did I spend my time? Okay. And then look at your return on investment. Your return on investment. Now, there's 3 things here. How did I spend my time? What is my return on that investment? Okay. And thirdly, is the return in the areas of priority where I want high returns? Is it in the area of priorities where I want high returns? In other words, if I say that my marriage is a high priority and I look back at the calendar, what activities in the last month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, were specifically spent in things that move the needle on a marriage? Now, I may look back and say, well, my spouse and I, what is the number? I mean, if you look at the numbers on the stuff, it's crazy how much, like, just watching TV time people, I mean, it's just Google it. I don't know what the right number is. It's a lot. Okay? That's pretty much you go back and look at all the available evenings. It was all spent doing that. What was your return for that? What if one of those evenings, if you look back on your calendar, one of those evenings, it was you went to a couples group, or you went to go to a community college, went to a communication seminar course once a week, or you went out for a date night, or in every other area of life. So here's the way I do it. I sit down and I do this in the big picture, every year. I sit down and I name my priorities, okay? And I put percentages on them. So if this is 100% of my time, what percentage is going to be spent in what? Because not all priorities are the same. I just went through this with a CEO of a extremely huge entity. I'm talking tens of billions. And somebody's like that, if you put, financial numbers to what their time is worth, it is, it's large. And he's looked at, here's 100% of my time. And he had the columns. He even came to me and gave me the columns. See, this is something he did as a practice. This is the percentage I want on this aspect of my life. This is the percentage I want on this aspect and these aspects. So that's kind of the first part of this. And what I do is I figure out what are the highest priorities, what percentage do I want on what amount of time. And then the next thing I do is I look back at my last year and how was the match? Did they line up? Did they line up? And what you're going to find, like when we're in a boat going across the ocean, if you have an autopilot, you're going to hit a current, you're going to go off and the autopilot's supposed to correct it. Well, this is what a monthly time audit will do for you. Because we all get off the mark, and I go, gosh, I said I was going to spend this amount of time on, if you look at the different aspects of my work, I said I was going to spend this amount of time on content creation, which would include writing or, research or other kind of things. And I spent this much time, then that means some other column is suffering and it needs my attention. Or if I only spent a fraction of the time, then my content life is suffering. And a time audit is like an autopilot. And it'll wake us up. So that's what I meant by the word for the day really is spending it on purpose through auditing it. So just go back and look at it. Now, let me tell you what I'm not shaming you about. And some of you are saying, oh, crap, you're saying I can't watch my favorite shows. Are you kidding me? I love my favorite shows. I'm going to watch my favorite shows, period. There you go. I am. And Tori and we always have one that we watch together. Now, then I have my own because I like a different kind of my own than she does. That's a good thing. You need downtime. I mean, you need throwaway time. People call throwaway. You need intentional recreation time. That's what we call recreation, right? Now, everybody who has any sense at all knows that golf is the best way to be recreated. Now, some people don't understand that and they do other stuff. I can accept that, accept all differences, right? But when I'm playing golf, when I can, I'm injured now, but when I'm playing golf, that's a high priority. Are you kidding me? That's not way down on the list. That's a high priority and it's going to get its time. It's going to get its time. When I first went into practice, I learned this, that if it was not in the calendar, there was always one more appointment. Somebody needed to be seen, always one more project, this and the other. And so it has to go in the calendar. And that's what, and Tori and I do that. We put the family time and time we're going to go away or time we're going to spend time, all of that. We put that a year out and block it in. Nothing's going to interfere with these family times. If I get invited to speak during that time, it's not going to happen. That's blocked off. And so you got to get intentional. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Because otherwise we wake up, go, where did it go? One of my favorite verses is in Ephesians chapter 5. And it says basically making the most of your time because the days are evil. What does that mean? The days are evil. How can days? Well, it means that we live right now. If you believe the whole Bible, there was a creation that was perfect, and then we fell. Now we're in this time period, everything being all screwed up. One day Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to make it all right. So we're in this time period where less than good stuff happens, and part of less than good stuff is things that gnaw away the cancers that gnaw away at our time. So that's why it says making the most of your time. But again, I'm not saying doing nothing is a bad thing. Just be aware that you're doing that on purpose. Warren Buffett schedules, I think this is right, schedules an hour and a half. This is what the third or fourth wealthiest person on the planet schedules an hour and a half a day where he sits in his chair and looks out his window. Hour and a half a day. Think about that. He's doing nothing. It restores him. It makes his thinking, all this. Tony Blair told me one time that when he was prime minister, he would take a half a day every week, a half a day, and go sit on the bank of a pond and just sit there and think. Very productive time, both of them. So I'm not saying golf, fishing, other stuff. I'm not shaming you for doing those things. I just want you spending or watching TV. Just do it intentionally so your priorities are getting their due. And the best way to do that's with time.